the retail landscape in India is completely changing. In this journey of becoming from an unorganized retail setup to an organized retail setup, Design Pulley is there to help these brands make this leap.
So one of the major problems in construction is procurement. The procurement system is so broken, and that's where the beauty of the construction tech will lie, because you have enough data.
Talk us through this journey. So you finish an MBA, you want to become an investment banker. How do you go from there to starting a company?
I come from a Gujarati family, right? I am Akash Lakdawala, co-founder of Design Pulley. So Design Pulley is a company that is operating for retail brands to ease out their expansion play. So we call ourselves a turnkey contractor. You just have to turn your key basically, and all the process from that ideation to turning the key is done by us. Today, from ideation to opening that store, each and everything is handled by our company.
How do you take humans out of the equation?
You can't.
No, Akash, actually, Akhil and I read this book called E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. He speaks about how businesses and things do not take off because a lot of founders are experts in their field. Like, for example, you have a accountant. They know how to do their accounting and they know only that part of it. They don't know the business side of it. They don't know all the 50 other things that have to be taken care of in a business. So it speaks about, you have to have all these different things. You have to set up an organizational structure, etc., etc., etc. So what you are doing essentially for retail brands and for people who want to expand, you are taking care of that, etc., etc., etc. for them, because you are being like, you focus on your customer, you focus on what you know, what you want, and leave the rest of the things to me.
See, what happens is that when you start a business, you think that you want to do all the work because there are overhead costs that are attached, right? If you want to take a service, for example, you are starting a content company itself, right? So there are a lot of services that you would want to rely on. And when you find the cost of that, you find out that there are so many overhead costs that I have to bear for this. So might as well, I do all these things by myself. I will save on these costs. So you try, many people, and even we in the initial stages, were trying to think in this direction only, because what mentality we have been taught from the childhood is that money saved is money earned. But it's not always that, because when you are too deep into the psychology of money saved is money earned, your money earned becomes a bottleneck in the whole process, because you are not able to maximize. You might have been able to do 100 rupees of sales yourself to 70 or 80 rupees of sales. So we also realized it when we were doing business that, see, let's say for a very simple example, I did not want to hire a graphic designer because I know Canva. Let me build my company presentations and everything on Canva by myself only. Why do I want to pay 10,000 rupees when there was not even a 1 rupee sale that we did, right? So that was the mentality that we had. I spent, for example, 5 to 6 days in perfecting that presentation itself. Now, if I would have outsourced that thing in those 5 days, I might have gotten a client. I might have developed some strong suits for my business that will help me to actually deliver client. Because this graphic designing is not going to help my client, right? This PPT is not going to help my client in that. So businesses need to apportion for these overheads, and then and only then they will be able to excel in their core business. And that thought shift is very difficult from an Indian mindset. I think in West, it's very easy and people would actually prefer. In fact, in West, it's opposite. The things that you could have easily done, that also you outsource. You outsource each and everything. You just focus on one thing. And that might be the reason why they have grown so fast, because there are whole ecosystems for each and everything. There is Salesforce for one thing. There is Zapier for one thing. Then you have accounting softwares who are completely self-reliant. So the whole ecosystem is, so all the ecosystems are also getting supported, and your business is just focusing on your business. So you have correctly pointed that out, that this thing usually happens. And in our business, it's not like that, these brands will do all this work by themselves, because it's a very technical and a very sophisticated work that they need to do. And they need to have their project team as well, because you cannot completely rely on a third party to execute each and everything, because there has to be a maker checker concept. If one thing that my chartered accountancy has taught me is the concept of maker and checker. There has to be one maker and there has to be one checker.
Let's get into the whole chartered accountancy and let's get into the business a little later. Let's go into Akash. Let's say, who is Akash? Where is Akash coming from? How is Akash here now? Like, what's your history? What makes you?
Yeah, so basically, I was born and brought up in Surat. I did my schooling in Surat. Now there is the first decision making point for any individual or any student is science like a commerce. Correct. That where do you want to progress your life? Now for me, both of my bigger sisters took science. So one was into biology, one was into engineering. Now the thing that happened with me was that, so I met with an accident in which I lost both my hands. Now the thing was at that point. So see, things are very weird, right? Because one incident that happens with you actually charts many more decision making factors of the life that you are going to happen, and those decisions become very logical and very chronological. That it's very obvious. So what happened with me was that at that point of time in 11th, 12th, there was a lot of laboratory work that you had to do. And there were lab exams also that were happening at that time in our Gujarat State Board, right? So my father was of the view that, doing all these things, your two sisters have taken science and are regretting that decision, if I may say. So, and my father was a civil engineer, so he also was from a science background itself. So, and he said that, it makes much more sense if you apply your mind in commerce stream. There is a lot to do in science, but if you are not overly passionate about science stream, and I was not. So, I was not passionate. I was passionate about playing computer games, but I was not passionate about how those computer games are made. And I never understood. Now, I will blame my schooling for this and my computer school teacher for this, but I never used to understand when they used to write that those HTML codes, the slash start and those type of things were happening. Those things that were anyways going bouncer to me. And one of my very close friends' father was a chartered accountant, and he said that I am going to also become a chartered accountant. My dad is chartered accountant. I will become a chartered accountant. So I said that why not join this bandwagon? I also want to become a chartered accountant. Seems like a fancy term, and seems like a good word. And I never, at that point of time, I did not know that chartered accountant is a very tough course. There are very limited people who get passed in it. I did not know that the pass percentage of chartered accountant ranges from 5% to 10%, 11%. So those information was not there. But I said that, hey, what the hell, like in commerce, this is the best I think people can do. Then let's do that. So I started that. And then luckily in the first exam itself, I was third in my city. And there was a huge media hoopla that was created around that. Because, given that I am differently abled, I am disabled, I don't have hands, then how can this person do this? And that was like the whole, so like the first two rankers, I don't know, they were not even reported in the newspapers. They just got a very small side in the newspaper. And that is how basically all these things happened with me, correct? So the things completely changed after that for me. And yes, today I completed my chartered accountancy in first attempt, and eventually towards my chartered accountancy, I figured I don't want to get into practice. So I decided if I want to get into job, it might as well. So I worked with Birla Sun Life for some time, but overall my aim was to do an MBA, and I started watching. So see, content has a lot of influence on you. I started watching Suits and these type of TV shows. And in that, in between, there was Mike Ross, who was going to become, he was a lawyer and he wanted to become an investment banker. I said, what is this investment banker? Let's see what it is. Then Wolf of Wall Street came. So I said that this investment banking is the life. You have to be a B school graduate, that too like from a top B school. So then I set my eyes on IIM Ahmedabad. IIM Ahmedabad happened. That was also a very good journey that I had to go through. Those might be two of the best years of my life because, you don't have any pressure. You are just into that. You have pressure, like you have academic pressure, you have performance pressure, but you don't have pressures that you have right now. Because right now, running a business, you have a pressure that you need to generate X amount of revenue. Otherwise, you are not going to be able to process salaries of the people who are dependent on you. That is a completely different pressure from a pressure of, scoring A grade or scoring B grade.
I love how we are now a knowledge worker society. I feel, Warren Buffett has this thing. He's like, if the financial markets were not the way they are, and if we were in a primitive world, I would have died on the 5th day. And, somebody would have eaten me up. But because the world is as it is, my brain is what governs my life. It's not how much I'm able to pick up via my hands, but rather via my mind. And that, I feel that is a very empowering thought to have, that, because we can so much rely on knowledge that we can build whatever life we want. Tomorrow you see a movie and you can go out and become an investment banker. Like, that's unreal, right? And that's awesome.
So talk us through this journey. So you finish an MBA, you want to become an investment banker. How do you go from there to starting a company?
I come from a Gujarati family, right? And I belong from a Jain family who are the typical banyas in, popular slang. So there was always that point of inflection that, entrepreneurship was always somewhere down the line. But I never anticipated it to come so earlier. But eventually, when I worked as 3 years as an investment banker, the life was fancy, the pay was fancy, the type of people you interact was extraordinary. You get to interact with the top CEOs, top founders of all these big conglomerates and all these big unicorn startups and everything. So the life was quite good. But at the end, a cog in a catastrophic plan. This felt that thing because you are not the one who is moving things in a direction. And the investment banking job is a very secluded job. So it is not like that you are... So if I was in a role in which I was impacting, say for example, 30, 40, 50 people under me, these are the type of roles you get in MBA as well, right? But I chose investment. It's a very centralized and a very individualistic excellence type of job. And from that, I wanted to move towards something which creates impact on a lot of people. And then entrepreneurship was always a calling. And how I got into this was that in my investment banking, I was covering retail sector itself, correct? So I was anyways covering the retail sector. I had that inside news of the market that, this retail sector is going to expand like anything in India. As I said, there is a hockey stick growth that is happening currently after like 7, 8, 9 months. I had that insight. And now my father was already a civil engineer. He already had that background, right? So I thought that why not use this background and the insight that I have and build a business over this. Correct. So that was the whole idea about, and now build a business. So my father used to work used to do construction for factories, for retail showrooms, for houses, each and everything. He was like a very standard practice that each and every civil engineer or an architect has. That any client comes, you serve to him and you serve to him only in Surat. Now I wanted to bring this whole thing pan-India and focused on only retail sector. So that is how I got into this, and I contacted one of my batchmates at IIM Ahmedabad itself. He had a previous experience of engineering at IIT Kanpur. So we thought that, you take care of operations, I take care of finance, sales and those parts, and let's build a business over this. And at that point of time, he was also going through that thought process that let's now do something of our own, and it connected very well. And we started this thing, and then I also joined one of my friend who was from Surat only. I also took him along this journey, and we started on this journey. So yes, that's how this whole journey started, and it's going pretty well as of now. So yes, quite satisfied with what things are happening and how we are trying to build and the impact that I was telling, right? Because now at any of our sites, if it's a big site, there are more than 40 construction workers. There are more than 4 or 5 project managers that are deployed over there. So the reach, your impact has multiplied a lot. And I think the thrill, the kick, the responsibility that comes with that whole setup is quite challenging as well as satisfying at the end of the day.
I feel the impact can be discussed because let's say you're an investment banker and let's say you raise $5 million for some other firm. Then when you do raise that money goes on to affect the people in that firm. The money goes on to build immense projects, and the money goes on to employ maybe 150, 200 people. And then you continuously raise and you do 14, 15, 20 deals a year, and suddenly you have impacted a lot of people. So the impact is there. The kick, of course, a direct impact can have like a crazy kick. I want to know, have you ever regretted leaving that world? Have you ever thought of, has it ever kicked in that, man, maybe I made a mistake?
I think also the main difference that I can see, at least between Akhil, the point that you alluded to with investment banking as to what he's doing currently, is that line that he said, I am a microscopic cog in a catastrophic world. I think that is the major difference, because in the investment banking world, where even though you are raising that amount of money, you're a certain team of people and you're doing due diligence, you're doing this, that, and the other. But, here, I guess that's where the whole direct versus indirect comes into play as well, because there it's a more indirect thing, because what you're working towards is raising a certain sum of money, whereas what you're doing here is actual physical work where you're affecting a certain number of people.
Correct. Actually, Vishnu pointed it out very well, and I just want to add one thing on this. So the thing is that why this line we chose, because there is a certain set of psychology that revolved around this. Because if in investment banking, I was working for Standard Chartered. If Standard Chartered is not able to raise money for that client, Avendus will raise the money. HSBC might raise the money. JP Morgan will raise the money. Citibank will raise the money. Merrill Lynch will raise the money. Bank of America might raise the money. I can go on and on and on. There are 50 different providers providing the same service who can do that. But over here, why we think is that because there are very few people who are cognizant of the fact that we need to make this industry organized. We need to bring in more professional players in this interior construction setup. We need to bring in more professional turnkey contractors who have their interest in mind and who also have the end workers or the end laborers' interest in mind, right? So that type of mindset is right now not there in this industry, which is already, so that is what I would call a mature industry. And this is what I would call a very nascent industry. There are very few people who are actually having this conscience in their mind to, create an impact over there. And definitely the professionalism is what is lacking over here. So these type of things are the things that makes me not regret leaving that cushioned life. And it's not a cushioned life. I will completely change my style. It's not a cushioned life, but there is a safe space in that life. So there are a lot of uncertainties in this life, and there is a lot of certainties in that life, because at the end of that paycheck is going to come. So that is the whole difference, right? So because there is a very usual debate, and I also used to struggle a lot, because whenever bonuses were coming, an investment bank gives you very fantastic bonuses, right? And the whole 30% tax used to get cut on that whole bonus pie. So if I'm receiving X, I'm only receiving 0.7X. And I used to get frustrated, like, I am paying more tax than a $1 million or $1 billion businessman who is doing his work. Then how is it fair, right? All the salaried people have this complaint. But, we need to appreciate and understand this fact that definitely there are very less tax arrangements that a salaried person can do. And a business can do a lot of tax arrangements. They can optimize their business in a way that they have to pay less tax eventually. But there are also the opportunities that they create. There is also that uncertain element that, you are going to earn that X amount at the end of the year, definitely. But here you need to deal with a lot of uncertainty and a lot of unstructured environment, and that is the premium. So see, You are taking a risk, you are going to get a premium on that risk. So we need to empathize more on each side. And now, having been on the both sides, I can understand the issues that a salaried person has, but I can now also understand why businesses get the flexibility that they get.
I think it goes back to the whole balance of risk versus reward. Yeah. What you're saying, when you're an employee, the risk on your head is so much lesser, which is why your reward is also proportionately lesser. So that when you put it in that sense, it makes a lot of sense. But when you are in the employee's shoes, you're thinking, "Arey, this business is doing so well. How are they avoiding it?" You can't get your mind to think in those perspectives. And now that you're in this other perspective, you then sort of see yourself that, oh yeah, this is the reason, blah, blah, blah. So you understand. I think when you are in the shoes that you once wanted to be in is where you understand the actual complexities and the actual nuances and things like that.
The point that you said, right? Okay, the companies that are doing well, correct? So there is a survivorship bias, like, because we see these success stories of startups and everything. Like, एक startup का success story देखते हैं, we have like 90 to 100 startups that have failed for that. So that's the whole game. And I think we need to be appreciating of the fact that entrepreneurship is a very thankless, very unrewarding in the earlier phases of life. And the thought you said, they regret. So I want to touch upon a very good thing over here. So see, according to me, there are two aspects how you can lead a life, right? One is you maximize your happiness, and the other is that you minimize your regret. And I believe that the latter one is a more nuanced way of living a life. That every decision you are taking, you don't need to look at that whether this will maximize my happiness or not. You need to take it like whether this will minimize my regret in future stages or not. So why I took this plunge from job to entrepreneurship? Because my happiness was maximized in that job, right? The short term and even the medium term. And might as well, if my business does not do extremely well, then even my long-term happiness was much more aligned towards doing job itself. But 30 years, 20 years, 15, 20 years down the line, I would have that regret that, what if I would have made that plunge and where would my life have been? So whenever this type of decision making comes under my mind, I always try to go towards a decision that minimizes your regret rather than maximize your happiness, or whatever term. Like, happiness is not the accurate term, but whatever term you want to put in that. So yeah, so that is what I try to do, and that's why the regret has not kicked in, because the whole plunge was because to minimize that regret and to go through this.
This is taking me back to what you started the episode with, that we have so many species that we are affecting and things like that. And Pulak Prasad is a very famous investor, and he has this book where he speaks about type 1 and type 2 errors. He said type 1 errors are where we are over aggressive, and type 2 errors where we are over cautious. So if we equate this to what you just said, one is where you're being overly happy, and the other is where you're saying that I am going to take these decisions where I might not be as happy, but I'm not going to regret my decision. So it's essentially, if you look at it, type 1 and type 2. So he's saying nature in its entirety, if you look at any species of animals, plants, etc., 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 everything is based on this concept of reducing type 2 errors, because type 2 errors can often be fatal. Like, if you are over aggressive and something goes wrong in nature, oftentimes that can cause your death. So like, if there is a watering hole and you're really thirsty and you want to go and you're not sure if there's a crocodile in that water, if you go there and if you're trying to be overly aggressive and you go to that watering hole, you can end up paying with your life. So nature as a whole runs on this fact that, we are going to go without water for that extra 2-3 hours maybe, but we are going to make sure we stay alive. So that sort of equates to your point that you're saying.
In Akash's case, he wants to go and he wants to risk his life, and he might die today. But he's like, I'll rather die than I'll go and like live for a long time.
So the next thing that I wanted to address is that when we had our introduction call, you were saying people do ed tech and fintech, but nobody does construction tech. What is this construction tech?
Correct. So construction tech, so it's not, so there are many players in construction tech. Like in West, there are there are fantastic technologies that are being developed in construction tech. It's not like that people are not focusing on that. But the thing is that construction tech is less about the idea or less about the product and more about the execution. Like all the other tech is more about the product. That you make a product, that execution is like on a fingertip, right? UPI, for example. Pin your code and directly in bank account the money is transferred. So execution part is very simple. You just have to put down the numbers and the thing is done. The tougher part was the whole infrastructure that went beyond to make this thing at one click. Correct. Construction tech is completely opposite. Construction tech requires a certain set of product knowledge, requires a certain set of, the thought process behind developing that product. But it highly relies on how the execution is done, because the data that we have to capture on site. So for example, if I say that this cupboard that is beyond me, or the wall that has been painted beyond Akhil's this, right? How many days did it take to build this cupboard? How many days did it take to paint that wall? There is no data captured in India. Even in West, it is happening at certain stages, but in India, that data is not captured. So when this data is only not captured, you will never be able to, because without data, there is no point in building a sophisticated system. Garbage in, garbage out, correct? Now, and here you don't have garbage also. There is no garbage data also that you can plug in. So now the thing is that the first step towards construction tech is to actually document these data points. That how many days does it take for a tiling? How many days does it take to, make this ceiling? And divide it into different tasks. That, first you prepare the surface. Then you fix that tile. Then you do the measurement. Then you do the cutting. Then you do the grouting. There are 6 to 7 different processes that are involved in this. So it's very difficult now. When I am explaining this to you, it's already difficult. Then just understand that how do we ensure that this thing is documented and then this data is used to derive insights, because of which my future construction sites are going to run in a new and a very refined manner. And the problem with construction tech in construction is, even if I document all these things, which we are trying to do, right? We are trying to document each and everything, because see, why we are targeting retail brands itself. You have been to any retail store. What is the thing that you find in common? In all those retail stores, there is the ambience. How, you go to a KFC, have you seen that one KFC is different to another KFC? Or is it similar?
Similar, but there are also differences.
Very minor, and that too depends on brand to brand. There are many brands that will be very similar. They want a similar experience for the customer. That sitting in Delhi or sitting in Bangalore or sitting in Jalandhar, I get the same experience. That is what that brand is trying to create. Now, this helps us a lot, because why did we not enter into residential and why did we only enter into commercial? And in commercial only, not offices. We do offices, that's a different thing. But why retail brands? Why are we so hell-bent on retail brands? Because of the similar scope of work. Because when there is similar scope of work, because in house, the problem is that father wants something, the mother wants something, the child wants something, the parents want something, and every parent and every house wants something else. So it's very difficult to, record the whole process and make it efficient from a housing perspective. But in a commercial perspective, because you have to do same things, because you have to make same ceilings, because you have to do the same flooring, same tiles, same marble, same finish on the wall, the same paint on the wall you want, the same furniture and fixture you have to prepare. That's where our management and the whole experience in management and managing things and, organizing the operations comes into play. And that's where the beauty lies, that, because we have to do the same thing, we are able to record that thing and then measure at each and every store that, in the first store, this activity took this amount of time. In the second store, according to the space, we apportion the time limit that has to go in there, right? So it should be completed in this. Why did it not complete in this? So now we have a metric on which we can rely. And that's where the beauty of the construction tech will lie. Because you have enough data, similar data. And even it depends different according to cities, and those type of play will still be there. There will be a margin of error. It's never going to be error free, and error 5-6% margin of error, not like 0.5-1%. But today the industry is at like 30-40% margin of error. So we are trying to bring it to the 5% margin of error.
Very interesting question I have for you, okay? Let's say I give you all the data. Let's say I give you like bulks of data. And let's take McDonald's as an example, because, they are the ones who started this revolution of cut, copy, paste, same process, same time to burger, same taste of burger, same taste of ice cream, right? So epitome of automation of construction, right? Let's say I give you all of this data. I give you the data for Zara, for name the brand. How do you take humans out of the equation?
You can't.
There's no way, because tech relies on automation, right? So how do you take humans out of the equation?
That's the beauty, and that's why I am very blessed to be in this field. Because, when the AI revolution started, like the research papers on AI, when they started to come 20 years, 30 years back, like in 1995, the first papers on AI used to start. The world that many of these authors were imagining was to replace the blue collar jobs, correct? They were saying that everything will be replaced by robots will do this, robots will do that, and the whole conversation was around that. Now we are amidst the AI revolution, and everyone at that point of time used to say that then everything will be a person who can think, a person who is creative. Those people will only have the value. But now when the AI revolution is actually happening, we are seeing the complete opposite turn of events, right? We are seeing that creative people are getting kicked out of their jobs. Content writers, one content writer is now able to do job of 100 content writers. One graphic designer will be able to do job of 100 graphic designers. One thought leader is going to do a job of 100 thought leaders. Because AI has interpreted our brains and interpreted our intellect in a way that we could not have imagined. But we are yet to see a robot doing these things, because there is shortage of semiconductor. There is a whole capex that has to be involved in building these robots. And the economies will never justify for a company like India, where you get so labor at such a less rate. It's completely impossible to replace this thing, correct? So now when I say about when I say about tech, why can't tech completely replace this thing is because we will need workers, we will need laborers, we will need people who are managing them. But what tech will do over here is, it's not that tech is not going to help at all. What tech is going to do is increase the efficiency of these people. It will increase the output that team, if that team is taking 30 days to deliver. Say, for example, if this cupboard is going to, the factory is making it in 1 day, then with the help of tech, we will be able to make it in 1/4 a day. So that is what tech is going to do. It will create operational effectiveness in these type of scenarios, but tech will not take humans out of the equation. Same thing is happening with the AI also, right? You need one content writer at least, correct? Who does the reproofing, who actually builds in the prompt and gives that answer. So that thing is definitely going to happen. So humans are not never going to be replaced. People using AI are going to replace the humans. AI is not never going to replace that thing. So that is what thing I believe in.
2 words are for now. For now are very heavy words, and for now generally go a long, long way. I was watching this one class of MIT, and in that the discussion was, what if we could have a room with the top CEO, top CFO, top COO, and top CMO of the world. There's a Steve Jobs, XYZ. We collect them together, leave them in a room, ask them to talk to each other and figure out a company for me that's going to work, right? And then each of them can be a ChatGPT bot, and the ChatGPT bot can just communicate with each other and like figure it out.
Correct.
Dude, yesterday I was sitting yesterday in a place where a bunch of these marketing guys and digital creators and all were working, and they were throwing ideas at each other, and then they go like, oh, I can't find a picture of this, let's use Midjourney. I can't find a prompt for this, let's use ChatGPT. Like, suddenly, as Akash, you referred to, content and creatives have suddenly just gone from, oh yeah, I'm going to draw this out, to I'm going to ChatGPT this, I'm going to Midjourney this. So it's that whole revolution has taken place. The other place where chatbots are doing a lot is this whole field of customer care. Your customer service agents, your call centers are all being replaced by chatbots, because I think we spoke about this in our very, very first few episodes where we had Hemil, and he was saying that what we have essentially devised through these chatbots is we've made them very, very good at predicting what we are going to say next. So the next word prediction of all these chatbots are so good at this point that they can understand conversation and they are able to correctly predict how to answer. So when you call a customer service of any particular company and they say, oh, all our agents are busy, please hold the line, you are now getting to a point where you're going to be greeted with a AI assistant who is going to take up a bunch of your questions until you get to the point that they're like, okay, yeah, now we cannot help you anymore at this point in time. Now we transfer you over to a customer service agent, which will go that way.
99% queries will be solved, and actually it will be solved in much more effective way, because sometimes humans are lazy and stupid, right? So
yeah, it often sometimes it won't strike you, or you're not able to think in that way. The AI has all the options available to it. So,
and AI is not tired. AI does not go through breakups. So the mindset of AI is going to be at its heightened sense at every point of time. So that's quite interesting times to be in, definitely. And definitely the construction sector is going to get quite a lot of impacted. We have started. So see, one of the major problems in construction is procurement. The procurement system is so broken that I don't have words to point out, means. Because if you want to procure a specific set of material, or a specific set of tile, or a specific set of light, it's so broken that, see, all the manufacturers rely on distributors, right? Most of the manufacturers rely on distributors. And then most of these distributors rely on wholesalers, correct? Because there is this chain that they have made. Now, who runs the wholesalers? Lala type companies. They are doing their business. They are getting their business. They don't want to go to that extra mile. Customer obsession is not there in majority of the Lala business, because Lala business, what is Lala business? Lala business is my customer comes to me. I have a product. If he wants that, I will give it to him. If he does not want, I have another 10 customers waiting for me. And I am happy because I have made those investments few years back. And now I am just earning reaps and rewards of that investment that I have made. Correct. So they are not customer obsessed. Now that is the problem that is happening in procurement, because these people are not very much looking forward to serve you in the way you can serve, and they are not interested in serving you also. So now, if AI, with the help of AI, what we are envisioning is that over a period of time, so when a company gives us a requirement, they give us a requirement in a BOQ, correct? So it's the kind of a book order quantity, correct? So they give us that requirement, and then now we have to figure out that, okay, based on this BOQ, I need to order this material, I need to schedule my tasks according to this, and I have to do each and everything according to this. Now, I have already used ChatGPT to break down all these tasks. And ChatGPT has already read all these construction books. So, he is able to decode that what type of thing they want to 95% accuracy. They are able to decode that, right? So, he is dividing each and everything in tasks. Now, I need to train a GPT system to understand that how to convert this thing into the quantity. That if I want to say paint 50 square feet area, then what amount of paint quantity I need to order from Asian Paints. So if I train that once in that thing, material quantity it will also take, right? Now material quantity is now available. Now what we need to do is that the Asian Paints need to have a system in which they are putting all their products in a Excel format or any format that GPT is able to understand, and then GPT is directly finding out price from that and also making an order to Asian Paints itself. And then, like how other products are getting delivered, Asian Paints will only deliver that product, and in future drones will deliver that product directly. So that's how you can solve the whole point, and you don't need so many middlemen. See, my very strong view and very controversial view is that India is destroyed because of the middlemen. Because for everything, even before passport ke liye, driving license ke liye, everything we had middlemen. Now we don't have those middlemen. See how effective that process is. But even so, there is a very famous book called A Feast of Vultures. I don't know the author's name as of now, but if you read that book, you will understand that the whole Indian system is run by middlemen. Even if Mukesh Ambani wants to get some work done, he also appoints a middleman. He does not go directly and talk to ministers to get something done for him or for the society, right? So for every work we have middlemen. So the point is that we need to decrease our dependence on the middleman, and technology, that's where the main use of technology will be there. As far as my limited understanding is that.
So basically, I completely agree with you that the main function of technology would be to reduce middlemen. For example, when you want to connect with XYZ people, you go to Facebook. Facebook being the middleman is much faster than having to go through somebody who will connect your call to somebody else, who will connect your call to somebody else. Right. However, because of this digital revolution, trust has been a major issue. I get 5 calls a day, all of which are scams. Somebody telling me, your insurance money is coming in. Somebody telling me your package is going to be delivered and we need an account number and all. Right? So now they have my information because of all of the tech that I'm involved in, because of me writing my phone number somewhere, because of me submitting a form online. If my middleman calls me, I am assuming that the due diligence of that is done. The other side of the conversation is, how we began, and you were like, I would rather do the Canva thing myself, but had I not done it myself, it would not have taken me 5 days. I would have hired somebody, and those 5 days I would have had gone and taken a leave. Just like that, there's this Canadian visa, right? And for Canadian visa, you need to fill out a full form, and that thing takes hours. And I think this is the second time we are having this discussion on our podcast. It takes so long. It takes like a whole day. Now, if you have the money, you would rather just go out, hire someone, book me a visa, and they would charge you.
It's about deciding a value for your time, man. I think it comes down to deciding how valuable your time is and what you need to spend that time doing.
One more question I'm going to throw in there, and then you continue with the point. How do you make money?
So middleman, definitely there is a need for middleman. I am not saying that let's completely eliminate the whole middleman community, because when I said leasing, right? So I will merge both the answers because it gives me a very convenient flow to the whole, to the both the questions. So see, we work as a leasing consultant, in which what we do, we connect developers with the brands. Now brand can directly also connect with those developers. Who is stopping them to do that? We are acting as a middleman only, which is how we are earning our money in the commissions. So the need of a middleman is definitely there. So it's not like that you completely eliminate the middleman, but there are a lot of, so every industry has different type of middleman. So my point was around that we need to eliminate where it is necessary. So in an ideal universe, I don't think that I am required to be a leasing agent. In an ideal universe, if that developer is smart enough or not smart enough, actually aware enough to put his property at a portal, at a trusted technology partner, correct? At a trusted technology partner, if he is able to put that thing over there, and then brands can also come on that platform and view each and everything, then that is a much more elegant solution. But till that happens, and we are trying to do that itself for retail brands, we are trying to build a platform where that thing can happen, so that they don't have to, because see, when the problem of middlemen comes, now a brand wants to open in Bihar also, Patna also, and a brand wants to open in Bangalore also. He might get a good middleman in Bangalore, but he might not get a good middleman in Patna. So then that scam point is true over here also, that a middleman can also do that scam. Middleman can also do that problem. So the need of, I will rephrase what I said earlier, right? And I will take a stance back. There is a high need of trusted middlemen and less number of middlemen, because when the number of quantity increases, the high competition is not good always for the market, because then there are a lot of foul players that are involved, and then because of higher competition, there are a lot of wrong tactics that even a person with conscience will do, because he is not able to make the margins that he wants to make, correct? So because of all these things, these type of things are happening, and my view is that we need less number of middlemen, trusted middlemen, as you pointed out, that there are less scams, there are less and see, the scams thing, I think that the level of critical thinking that we need to apply in life has to increase by a lot if we want to avoid from these scams. Because scams देखो पहले भी होते थे, ठीक है, टेक्नोलॉजी का नहीं है. पहले कैसे स्कैम्स होते थे कि देयर वाज सम लेडी जो नॉक करती थी, एंड देन शी यूज्ड टू ओपन के मैडम मैं ये चीज़ें बेचने आई हूँ, and then they used to hypnotize you in certain way to your house, and then take the gold chain that your mom is wearing. Those things were happening earlier also. So scams तो होने ही वाला है. It's only कि तुम्हारा जो critical thinking का जो एक चीज है जो shunned off हो गया है in the world of propaganda and everything. मतलब let's not go into that conversation as of now. मतलब world of propaganda and everything. But उसके कारण जो critical thinking stop हो गया है हमारे mind का, we need to just activate that if we want to save ourselves from these scams.
People are sending Bitcoin, okay? Literally, sometimes they're like, you need to send me 2 Bitcoin, otherwise your income tax return will not be filed and you will be caught in fraud, and people just go and, oh, I have to send 2 Bitcoin.
Now coming on to the part of question that how Design Pulley earns money. So one aspect I already made you aware, like the leasing part of our business. So that is the first part in which we earn money, which is a full service-based revenue. So there is a service-based revenue that we have, and then there is a product-based revenue that we have. Correct. So service-based revenue में आ जाएगा leasing and project management consulting, in which we consult them. So we help them in appointing a contractor, we help them in appointing a factory where their goods are going to be produced, and we help them in even designing the parts and those type of service. So that is the another service element that project management consulting, we try to term it as that PMC. So one is this PMC revenue, one is this leasing revenue, and the main revenue. So now these are the service-based revenue. So it's very easier to assume that the margins will be much more higher in this because it's a service-based thing. I don't have to bring a product and spend on a product. There is no raw material expense. There is no cost of goods sold. It's just my time. So I'm leveraging my time in this, my company's time. Whatever cost of goods sold आप बोल सकते हो, it's the person I appoint, right, to do those things. If I am not there, then there is a project manager who is at site, who is taking care of that. तो उसका जो monthly salary हो गया, that is the correct. So that is one part of thing. Let me try to do. The other part, which makes up for much more revenue, but makes up for much less margin, is the contracting services that we give, in which the labor and each and every subcontractors and the labor teams that we are more comfortable with, we appoint it on the factory is also on our payroll itself, and we take the full project with client, and that is what we prefer most of the time. We don't prefer PMC work most of the time because we need control over that factory. Because if that factory person knows that I am not the one paying him, and there is the another paymaster who is paying him, then my authority and my communication and my workflow with him gets impacted in that scenario. So we always prefer that companies go through us and we hire these subcontractors. And we just don't hire these subcontractors. We are too deep in their business. So the factories that I am saying you, I only order material for them. I have connect with the lowest and the highest level of laborers, workers and the supervisors that those factories have. Not through owners. So it's not like, so see, one type of thing that is very usual in this construction is that you subcontract the work and then you sit and relax and then let other guys do the work. That's where the problem starts coming. Now, what we are trying to do is we are trying to capture all this data and we are trying to build sense from all this data. So we have to be involved in this business, right? Like we have to get our hands dirty. We cannot just outsource the work and then sit and relax. So we are 100% involved in that. So that is how we differ from other turnkey contractors. Because other turnkey contractors take the work, they give the work to someone else, and then they just simple follow-ups and those type of things. Because they are not there capturing different type of data. We need to capture different type of data, and because of that, we are 100% involved in that work. Like the whole journey of what each and everything is happening. So that is the third level of revenue that we get. कि एक अगर जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल आपको एक घर बनाना है तो लाइक इफ ए शोरूम फॉर एग्जाम्पल राइट, तो यूजुअली फर्नीचर, फिक्चर्स एंड द होल इंटीरियर according to the brand specifications, the brand qualities, it takes like per square feet, the charges are like ranges from 2000 square feet to 4000, 6000 square feet according to the type of material that they want to use and the type of interior elements that they want to use. The charges vary according to that. And on that, the usual margins are around 10 to 15%. And that too when everything happens according to plan. If things don't happen according to plan, then that margin reduces. So yes, that is what, and because we want to build a big business, so see, there are many contractors who are earning 40% margin. Because if you would have made your house, that architect has definitely charged you 40% margin. So that is the thing. So that is the thing. But because we want to build a big business, and you are not aware that what type of material is costing what. If I tell you that there is a baffle ceiling that is going to come, it's a very premium. It comes from Spain, and it will charge you 7,000 rupees. Do you know that whether it takes 5,000 rupees to procure it in the market or 9,000 rupees to procure it in the market? You will rely on that architect or whatever person you have appointed to make that home. And then it's okay, you are doing it only for one time, right? So you are not also very much worried about those things. कि यार एक बार घर बना रहा है, 2 crore डालना है, amount सोच लिया है, I have given that amount to architect, let's make. But brands will have, because they have to build continuous stores, right? So they are very specific. We need to optimize our cost over here. So that's how this thing happens. That we have to be very competitive also with them. So the margins are less.
How do you ensure the transparency? Transparency of how much I am buying it for. जैसे आज तुम कहते हो ना, like you're saying architect is gonna say 7,000, but it's actually 4,000 that he's purchasing for. How do you ensure that when I say 5,000 or when I say 7,000 and I'm telling them I'm going to be purchasing it for 6,000, they know? Or do you even bother ensuring that?
So that is very simple for us, because client, it's not that, see, if he's doing it for the first time, if he's doing something for the first time, then that conversation makes much more value, that I ensure him that, you are getting a transparent price. But most of our clients have already made that thing with some other contractor. So they already know a price range that is there. And when our price range is in that ballpark, and even sometimes lower than that ballpark, because they might be taken for a ride with some other contractors, then in that scenario, they already know it. So it is not a very difficult task for us, because if we are in that ballpark or if we are under that ballpark, then they know that this person is being transparent with me. And how do we ensure that? Because we have worked in this field for last 2 years, we know each and everything, how the cost built up works, how the sum of parts, we are aware about all the sum of parts that go into. So for example, if I want to take for flooring, that how many cement, what type of cement is going to, what is the cost of cement, what is the cost of tiles, what is the cost of the labor, how much time it is taking. So multiplying that cost with that labor, accounting for wastage, we build that whole thing from first principles, bottom up. We build the costing, and if it is in the range, we know that this is the best competitive price that we can offer to the client. And it sometimes happens that client has a lower quote than the bottom up costing that we have done. And that is where the problem of construction industry lies. Because there are a lot of, so see, if I say that I will use this ply, right? I will use this standard century ply. But you are not going to see that ply, right? Because you are going to see the final product, final finished product. So how do you know that under century ply hai ki kya hai? And this is where the whole game of construction is being played, which we want to change, right? यार जिसने जो मांगा है ना उसको वो दो, भले उसको वो महंगे में मिल रहा है. होता क्या है कि कंस्ट्रक्शन का कॉन्ट्रैक्ट जब लेता है ना कोई भी बंदा, वो ले लेता है. कंस्ट्रक्शन में एक थंब रूल है कि कॉन्ट्रैक्ट आ रहा है, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट ले लो, उसके बाद प्राइसिंग पे खेलो. देर आर अ लॉट ऑफ, आप बोलोगे कि मेरे को सेंट गोबेन का ग्लास चाहिए, मैं आपको सेंट गोबेन का ग्लास दिला दूंगा नकली, जिसका कॉस्ट 30-40% से कम होगा. सेंट गोबेन का थप्पा भी होगा उस पर. एंड दैट इज द प्रॉब्लम ऑफ इंडिया. तो आपको मैं वो चिपका दूंगा. अगर मेरा मार्जिन मीट नहीं हो रहा है ना, आई हैव 100 डिफरेंट वेज टू मेक श्योर कि मेरा मार्जिन मीट हो जाए, आपको पता भी नहीं चलेगा. बट ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम वेयर एंड टेयर होगा, क्वालिटी में इश्यूज आएगा, रिपेयर एंड मेंटेनेंस में इश्यू आएगा, फिर आप मेरे पास वापस नहीं आओगे. तो कंस्ट्रक्शन पे रिपीट बिजनेस का किसी को इंटरेस्ट ही नहीं है. सबको एक बार काम करना है, फिर निकल जाना है, चलो अब दूसरे को पकड़ते हैं, उसके साथ 2-3 बार काम किया, तीसरे को पकड़ते हैं. तो देयर इज दिस चेन वो होता है, एंड दैट वी वांट टू ब्रेक. वी वांट टू ब्रेक दिस चेन. कि वी वांट टू एंश्योर द रिपीट बिजनेस इज जनरेटेड. Repair and maintenance, the brands that are spending so much money on repairs and maintenance, we reduce that for them by using the quality products in the first instance itself. And जो ये pricing का game है ना, वो नहीं खेले. But unfortunately, it's very difficult to revolutionize in one day. So we are on that process. But yes, that is the thing that are happening.
So, yaar, just putting everything together, from what I've understood, you are basically trying to play the economies of scale game when it comes to construction. You are saying since retail stores try to go for the same atmosphere, the same ambience in a lot of their stores, you are trying to take each of their stores and do a cut, copy, paste with that. And you're trying to leverage the data in order to make each of those cut, copy, paste stores happen more efficiently. And you are working on all the verticals, because once they come to you and they're like, hey, we need you to help us out in this, you take their store model, you do all the data, you crunch the data, you say, okay, at this location, at this price, at this size, this is the time it should take, factoring in for the 5-10% error that you have, and then you do everything for them, from contracting to procuring to project management to everything. Like, you are their one-stop shop. Today, if I have a retail brand and I want to open a store, I can come to you and be like, this is my store, this is my basic model of the store, and you can do all the rest of the work for me.
Correct.
So, next question, how do I reach you?
So you can reach, so we have a website, www.designpulley.com. In that, our contact details are there. You can also, I am quite active on LinkedIn as well. So you can reach out to me on LinkedIn as well. I usually respond within few hours, unless I'm occupied in something. So I usually respond in few hours as well on LinkedIn. And our contact details are available on our website itself. So in the contact us stage. So that are the two ways that you guys can reach out to me. And my contact number is also available over there. So you guys can reach out. Any retail brand can reach out to us in that way. But mostly in our business, people don't reach out to us. We have to reach out to people. So
how many cities are you all active in? So you, as you said, you are currently in Gurgaon. Where are you active throughout India? What is the thing?
So throughout India, so we have done, so I will tell you, we operate pan India, and I will tell you that what cities we have operated till now. So I belong from Surat. We have operated in Surat. We have operated in Delhi, Gurgaon, Faridabad, all the three cities. We have operated in Siliguri. We have operated in Meerut. We have operated in Bhubaneswar. We have operated in Kerala. We have operated in Bangalore, Hyderabad. All these cities we have operated in. I am missing some cities as well. We have operated in Agra. So we are trying to go this pan India. Our team is also equipped in a way. All our contractors, subcontractors, all the team that is dependent on us has that psyche that we are not building this business for a particular city. We are building this business for India. And for India, I say not just the tier 1. In fact, we are focusing a lot on tier 2, because see how this business has evolved till now is that you will see कि एक जन है, जैसे my father, right? My father is very good in Surat. यार तुम सूरत में उनको कुछ भी काम दे दो, he will execute that thing which no other company will be able to execute that with that precision and that timelines and that quality. Everyone is an area master. एक दिल्ली का मास्टर है, एक इधर का मास्टर है, एक उधर का मास्टर है. But what we are trying to do is कि we are trying to cut that thing. हाँ, and India master, because tier 2 में इतना डेवलपमेंट हो रहा है, because बहुत डिफिकल्ट है ना हर सिटी का मास्टर को पकड़ना. और मास्टर का क्या है, मास्टर के पास ऑलरेडी बहुत काम है वो सिटी में, तो मास्टर प्रीमियम भी बहुत चार्ज करता है. प्रॉब्लम वो है मास्टर का. मास्टर विल चार्ज यू अ लॉट ऑफ प्रीमियम.
And then the construction timing and everything, you have to factor all that in. So everything plays. Like 5 years is, I guess, if you want to open something in 5 years, you have to literally do things now. Like now also might be a little too late, that 5-year timeline. If you start now, you might still not meet that timeline.
And everything falls in places.
Exactly. So like 5 years के लिए you're already like 6 months too late.
हाँ, correct. So these small developers are saying कि अभी आज मेरे को अगर आप पूछोगे ना, I have contact numbers of all the landowners and the land brokers वो ऑपरेट इन tier 2, tier 3 सिटी. बिकॉज उस लेवल पे जो रेप्यूटेड मॉल्स है, VR का चेन हो गया, पलेडियम वाला चेन हो गया, फिनिक्स बेसिकली जो है, DLF है, एवरीवन इज नाउ फोकसिंग ऑन दिस tier 2, tier 3. बिकॉज ऑनलाइन जब से चालू हुआ है,
because I think also the tier 1 is saturated. Also tier 1 is very saturated and tier 1 is very well serviced with online.
हाँ नहीं, so that's the thing, right? ऑनलाइन से सर्विस हो रहा है, but everyone is, so Sugar Cosmetics का I was taking you an example, right, earlier. Sugar Cosmetics started as an online D2C brand, ठीक है. आफ्टर दैट एक बार ब्रांड बन गया, शार्क टैंक पे विनीता फेमस हो गई, सब कुछ हो गया. उससे पहले ही एक्चुअली शार्क टैंक पे फेमस हुई, उससे पहले ही. सो शार्क टैंक का उसमें कोई रोल नहीं है. उससे पहले ही दे स्टार्टेड विद देयर ऑफलाइन स्टोर्स, एंड टुडे दे आर गेटिंग मोर रेवेन्यू फ्रॉम देयर ऑफलाइन स्टोर्स कंपेयर्ड टू ऑनलाइन स्टोर्स. एंड काउंटर इंट्यूटिव है. मैं बोल दिया हूँ काउंटर इंट्यूटिव, तो इजीली तुम गेस कर लोगे क्या महंगा पड़ता होगा बेचना प्रोडक्ट. मार्जिन किस में ज्यादा बनता होगा, ऑनलाइन में कि ऑफलाइन में?
मार्जिन ऑनलाइन में होगा.
करेक्ट वैसा नहीं है. सोचो कैसे है, हाउ कम ऑफलाइन में यू अंडरस्टैंड द कॉस्ट, राइट? यू अंडरस्टैंड द कॉस्ट के यू हैव टू बिल्ड अ प्लेस. पहले तुमको लीज का जगह देना है, उसके लिए मेरे को पैसा देना है. फिर तुमको जगह बनाना है, उसके लिए मेरे को पैसा देना है. Then the whole employees that you have to operate. Then there are so many operational costs that are there in operating a commercial store. Even after all this, the margin in offline is more than margin in online for majority of brands. मतलब I will say for 70% of the brands.
Is it because of logistics?
It depends on the platform.
Customer acquisition cost is so high in online. You have to 100 ऐड करते हो तब एक ऐड का वो क्लिक आता है, वो एक क्लिक आता है, उसके बाद वो कन्वर्ट होता है. इन दैट a lot of cost is getting channeled over there. And now the boundaries have completely evolved. Now people are not thinking of CAC. अगर if I'm doing an online ad and I have an offline store, then आपने online ad देखा, अपना offline store देखा, offline में खरीद लिया. You saw real estate. You know there are so many stores of Nike which are doing zero sales. Zero sales मतलब less than 5,000 rupees sales per day. तो वो zero ही हो गया, मतलब loss making. Still they are operating. Still they are operating since last 7-8 years. Why? Because that real estate जो है that works as an advertisement for them. कि वो स्टोर से सेल नहीं हो रहा है, बट वो स्टोर्स के आईबॉल्स इतने ज्यादा है that other stores are getting demand for that. मतलब a lot of airports एयरपोर्ट के बाजू में स्टोर्स खोल देते हैं. एयरपोर्ट के अंदर, आई एम नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट इनसाइड द एयरपोर्ट, आउटसाइड द एयरपोर्ट people are started having opening stores. Why? No one is going to stop after the flight or.
But everyone who is going in and out of the app is seeing the store.
So same thing is now happening in online. Okay, you are, if you think that you are CAC, you are saying that मेरा CAC इतना हो रहा है because my online sales is X and Y amount, but it's not like that. Online, if I am seeing you online, I am buying you offline. I am seeing you offline, I am buying you online. So that line has completely blurred, and no amount of data analytics is going to get you towards an accurate assumption. But that these brands have now realized, okay, that thing is now happening, and that's why offline is here to stay. Touch and feel. See, only electronics. If you see Flipkart, the sales that Flipkart is doing now, 70 to 80% of their sales is only electronics. ये big billion day sales that you see, only electronics are getting sold. Because electronics में there is nothing. अगर phone है, laptop है, it's that. मतलब OnePlus खरीदा है Flipkart से, store से भी यही मिलेगा. ये feel का कुछ बात नहीं है इसमें phone में. Because you have already seen that phone in your friend's hand. You have already seen iPhone 14 in your friend's hand. You have taken that feel. You don't want now. You will order it online only. But in apparel, in jewelry, in any other segment you say, मतलब वो जो कुणाल शाह है ना, कुणाल शाह, ये क्रेड वाला, क्रेड, he has this term, मतलब I forgot this term, but he is saying कि I will get you that term after this call. So he says that वो एक leap होता है performance में, मतलब experience में. There is a leap in experience which this apparel, jewelry, these type of business are not having in online. That experience is not getting elevated. Means. So that's why these offline players are going to stay. That's why this whole lot of malls are developing. Everything is developing because of this. And online will be there, but online will, because you see the growth has tapered. The growth is not like continuously increasing. It's like tapered around 10-15% only for most of the products. Only in electronics it's around 40-50% online. Otherwise it will taper around 20% is the maximum that is going to get. So that is how the retail landscape is going to play. And वो एक शोरूम में AC में रह के, चकाचौंध में रह के जो माइंड का साइकोलॉजी है ना, that completely changes.
For sure. I think that's a perfect place to sort of bring things to a close. We have gone, I think, full circle twice. We have this tradition on our podcast that our last guest has left a question for you. You answer that and then you leave a question for our next guest. So the question is, startups are extremely hard. You know, TechCrunch stories, success stories, as we alluded to during the episode, are only 1%. How do you continue to be delusionally optimistic about your company are there some actionable things that you do to remain delusionally optimistic?
Yeah, at the end of the day, it all boils down to the impact that you are able to create. So even if you are not at the position where you would have been in your fancy job, correct? At this point of time, I am not taking out salary from my company, which the salary that I was taking out from my job, correct? But still, it keeps us going because we are actually seeing the impact on ground, literally on ground, like, because we are working on ground and we see those smiles and the customers who are happy, the team that we are employing are getting those employment opportunities, and we are seeing that, when they come and tell us that, sir, you are doing this thing differently, and we have worked with so many contractors with so many experience, but you are doing things differently. When we get that level of feedback from our team, from our customers, that is what keeps us going. That, we are doing something right. We need to just keep on doing it, and eventually it will compound. And it will give me a result, and it will give result to the country at large that is going to be remembered for a generation. So that is what every founder tries to do in their capacity, right? That they want to create an impact, and they want to create an impact that makes the next generation better equipped and better placed than what the current generation is in the whole, like, if you want to look it from a top down view, not just specific to my business, to any business.